We are here in Portugal to drive the third of the Jaguar SUVs. Yes, after the F-Pace, we had the E-Pace, and now this is the I-Pace. And it's a totally different car. I drove it earlier in the year at Geneva for a short drive around the motor show, and now we are here to do a full proper drive of the all-electric SUV from Jaguar. We are going to be driving it on the roads, in the mountains, as well as on the Portimao track over the next couple of days. Let's go and try out this car.
Even though the I-Pace looks to be the smallest of the Pace family of Jaguar SUVs, it's got the longest wheelbase in a length just shorter than the F-Pace. But the space inside is of an SUV of a segment above, and even the larger boot space of the F-Pace is smaller than that of the I-Pace. This is because the car has been built from scratch as an electric vehicle. With the 90 kWh battery pack placed under the flat floor in between the two axles, each of which passes through a synchronous permanent magnet motor developing 200 bhp of max power and 348 Nm of torque. This means that the car has 400 bhp of power on tap and 696 Nm of torque. But the beauty of this EV is its range of up to 480 km on a single charge. Jaguar could have done anything with this, its first electric vehicle, but chose to give it life as an SUV. But it is just not an SUV on paper. It performs both on and off the road, as we discovered. We took it wading through and across a river before taking it up into the mountains on dirt tracks, and finally doing some spirited driving on gravel roads before hitting the tarmac for highway. Country and mountain road driving. The I-Pace is as unfettered off the road as it is on the road, with huge amounts of torque available from the start. It makes child's play of steep ascents and river crossings, and its fine balance gives it athletic poise on the gravel roads. On tarmac, it's even more fun to drive because it can throw you back into the seat whenever one steps on the throttle and is planted at high speeds and around corners, given its large wheelbase and huge wheels. There are a number of settings one can customize for one's comfort and style of driving. Even though the car is learning each individual driving style to optimize efficiency and thereby range. First is regenerative braking, which when set on high allows one to drive the SUV with a single pedal. On the gas means acceleration and off the gas means deceleration. So much so that the vehicle can come to a standstill. With regenerative braking set too low, one needs to use the brake as one would normally. One can also ask for a calm environment in the car, and this cuts out all sound, and even the veering of motors is reduced to a minimum. Or at the other extreme is where the electric vehicle sounds are enhanced to give one a sporty driving feel.
As we've seen, this car can do some off-roading. It's really good to drive on the normal country roads, on the highways as well. And surprisingly for an SUV, it is great on the track as well. We've done some fast laps and now we are just taking it around for some slow laps just to get a feel of the car on the track. That it corners so well, that it handles so well on the track as well, is of course also due to the weight distribution. That's because the batteries are really low down, the center of gravity of the car is very low, and unlike what one would expect of an SUV, it doesn't have much body roll at all. It goes around the track just like a sports car, and that is also true to some extent because of the suspension. The air suspension on these cars can also be set to a dynamic mode, and where the car is absolutely stable on the track. Also helping with the traction on the track is the all-wheel drive system. Any wheel can get as much torque as required. Of course, both the motors are equal in power, and the torque split can be 50-50, or it can be split as the situation requires. JLR has been doing these really nice interiors, as we saw on the Velar to begin with, and they have been taken into the other vehicles, and the I-Pace also gets those. It's not radically different, but it has an array of features that are required for an EV. Very interesting and very smart. Let's take a look at some of these.
The best part of the interiors of the I-Pace is space, and there is loads of it everywhere. And to top it all is the full roof panoramic sunroof that gives the cabin a sense of airiness and extra space. Not just the space, but the cabin is very practical as well, with lots of storage spaces, including a 10.5-litre central under armrest storage at the front and iPad and laptop storage under the rear seats. The Touch Pro Duo infotainment system from the Range Rovers makes its first appearance in a Jaguar, and here is combined with EV navigation, which always chooses route to maximize driving range.
After having driven the car over the last couple of days on all sorts of terrain, we took it off-road, we drove it on a track, we've driven it in a city, and we've driven it on nice country roads as well as the mountains. I have to say that I'm very impressed with this car. One has to think differently while driving it. It is, after all, a fully electric car, but it doesn't have any of the drawbacks one normally associates with an electric car. It's got plenty of power, it's got very good range, and the interiors are spacious, they are modern, and they are very comfortable. The big question, however, is whether this car will go on sale in India. JLR is awaiting the government's policy on electric vehicles to make the final decision, and I hope that the policy will be favourable and we'll be able to see such a good car on Indian roads very soon.